Hey guys, this game was just a little interesting. I will state immediately that this is not like a high-ranked game by any means. This was kind of just a random group. Tyrande got a couple changes, and my thought process was I wanted to see how Tyrande would do in like a non-coordinated environment. I still think Tyrande is one of the better healers for a coordinated environment because you can pretty much blow up any target that your tank can CC for 0.75 seconds or longer, meaning that whatever gets CC dies because of Tyrande. You can follow up any stun with your own stun that does a decent amount of damage while also lowering their armor, increasing the amount of damage that your team is doing. And they moved her quest and her increased range to level 1, which I usually ended off a game with about 14 stacks on average, I would say. So having this at level 1 allows me to stack a few times before the fights get really serious, and before I need to save my E for later situations. It also helps a little bit with wave clear, but I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the later portions of the game. My goal was to see if Tyrande could work in a chaotic environment rather than a coordinated environment, so that's my entire goal this game. As far as early game healing, her healing's rather low. My goal was to get to level 4 and take the new buffed Everlasting Light talent, which made it to where your second heal would heal for 80% more. Then at level 7, my goal was to take the Moonlit Arrows. Basic attacks will decrease the cooldown of your Light of a Loon by an additional 0.75 seconds so that you can get more heals out. And my goal was to use these two talents to try to keep up with the opposing healer. Deckard right now, especially when you take Ruby, can out-heal a lot of healers, ending off most games that go to level 20. He'll end off most of those games with 80 to 120,000 healing. And that's quite a bit for a healer, so I need to do my best to try to keep up. The one benefit is I have a little bit of better follow-up than Deckard does, because my follow-up's faster. The downside is that Deckard has more AoE CC. Both of these healers were the competitive healers nearing the end of HGC, so seeing both of these I think is a good option. We go with the double soak with just a 3-person group. My goal is to try to keep my mana efficient, help out with AoE if I need to, and still try to get a couple stacks before we hit level 4 where I would normally start stacking. So this gives me 4 more stacks than I would have gotten normally, and honestly, I didn't really stay in lane against enemies too much, so realistically, you could probably get 6 to 8 stacks on this quest before level 4. At level 4, level 7, you're probably going to want to start that playstyle of let me start following up my team rather than trying to do stuff on my own and just get stacks on my own. And at this tier, you still maybe will want to be going for Loon's Chosen. This was the meta pick, but Everlasting Light has seen a few buffs, and I'm just like, how many buffs does it take before it's better than Loon's Chosen? The one downside about picking Everlasting Light instead of Loon's Chosen is that Everlasting Light requires you to heal 2 different targets, and a lot of times in competitive, one target is the only one that's really taking damage. But my goal is to still see, I mean, this is for competitor or chaotic environments, to see how valuable Everlasting Light is, right? So right here, I follow up his stun with my own stun. I do it a little late, but I still aim it in the direction that he's going. We fire off some extra damage, I lower his armor, we get a kill. We start off this objective rather strong, and I'm just going to do my best to keep my my cooldown low, keep everything healing, and I want to continue to be stutter stepping where I can. I'll throw 1 heal onto the Murky, but I don't really want to throw my second heal on a Murky because I don't get that 80% increased healing. So I wait to see if there's any other target that I can heal, and now you can see that I healed 1 person for about 400 and 1 person for about 600. Now we're going to continue auto-attacking to keep the cooldown low. We heal the person that doesn't need the heal first, and then we heal the person who actually needs the heal second. And you're going to notice that I do that strategy a lot, where I'll heal like this person a little bit, then I'll heal the one that really needs the heal second. And that's the real benefit of using Everlasting Light, is throw the first heal out first if you can, really early, and then throw the second heal out where it actually needs to go when it needs to go. And you'll see sometimes that I'll fire that first heal and I'll wait a minute or two, or just a few seconds so that I can charge up before I throw out the second heal. But as far as keeping my team topped off, it's not happening as easily as Deckard is. Deckard's team is all full health, and my team has been struggling. If we were to pull up the healing differences, he's doing 50% more healing than I'm doing. We have 3 more kills in the opposing team, though. So what Tyrande does well, she still does well, which is getting those bursty kills. What I'm hoping is that when I hit level 10, I'm going to get an ult that's going to help with healing, and Deckard is not. So my hope is that I'll be able to start catching up to him in healing after we hit level 10, and we can take fights where I gain a little bit more healing. So that's really my goal on that. I went to this lane because I knew we weren't fighting for a little bit, so I wanted to push up top just a little bit, see if I can't get some experience for my team. We are ahead in experience, and we're going back in one more time. I don't want to waste too much healing on Murky because he can gain a lot of healing just by staying out of combat for a little bit, or even in combat. So I don't want to waste too much. I'm going to focus primarily on healing the Zul'jin, who pretty much just keeps his trait on permanently, which is fine. I mean, it's going to allow me to get him just a little bit more value, a little bit more damage, but we end up losing the Anubarak, and my whole team just takes just a little too much damage, and I can't keep up. I'm 7,000 healing beneath the opposing healer, and they were able to clean up another kill. So early game Tyrande, with these changes, does not keep up in healing in uncoordinated environments. In coordinated environments, I mean, you're getting kills left and right, so it's perfectly fine to go with that. But in an uncoordinated environment, your early game is going to be rough. And this is, I mean, I have not stopped auto-attacking and using my heals when people are low health. So you can tell it's one of those things that I'm keeping my cooldowns very low, and I'm getting a lot of healing off, but that healing is just it's tough to get off. I mean, that's the thing, is Tyrande is a difficult healer. You need to be constantly auto-attacking to make sure that your healing cooldowns are low. You need to be constantly watching for situations to follow up your team's auto-attack or your CC, and you need to be ready to combo your Hunter's Mark and your Sentinel with your stun so you can do more burst damage on the target that you're lowering their health on. So once again, follow up my team's stuns. I throw out my own stun. I'm getting decent stacks, doing decent damage, 55% increased damage already, which is not bad. I keep auto-attacking, get my heals out to try to keep up the Zarya. She will end up getting taken out right here, but I can still keep up myself and the Zul'jin if I throw out a heal here. Oh, I could have saved him. 1 auto-attack would have given me 2 heals. That's purely my fault. And I will say, I haven't been playing a lot of Tyrande since they moved her cleanse talent to level 16. She just kind of left the meta at that point, so I haven't really played her a lot, so bear with me. I do make mistakes this game. I am rusty. I decided to go with Shadowstock because the damage seems to be spread out around our team, and I just can't keep up with the AoE damage that's happening, and it helps my team reposition in fights a little bit better, so I do end up going Shadowstock. Yes, Starfall would be really good with Graviton. Yes, Starfall's a little bit better for single target healing, but ultimately I've been copying a little bit more of the Europe playstyle of Tyrande because they're still playing Tyrande while North America's not playing her anymore, and Europe almost exclusively takes Shadowstock. So I'm practicing based off of what I see from them and going from there. So that's why I choose to go Shadowstock. It's got a long cooldown though, so if one person's getting killed, it's not the best to use it on that one person, especially if you're expecting an objective to pop up soon. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Make sure that you're using this when your entire team's taking damage, and so I try to save this primarily for team fights. This portion of the game's gonna start looking really rough. I'm just gonna tell you that. I actually hid chat so you guys couldn't see. We have some people calling out each other. I mean, this was an uncoordinated game. You don't expect your team to be following up everything. Our draft is a little weird. Our Zarya is a healer main, doesn't play a lot of other characters, so I stole healer from him. That's my bad. You shouldn't do that. If you have the ability to flex, you should be flexing, but I wanted to test out these changes, and I said I wanted to test out the Tyrande changes, and she was like, sure, I'll switch over. Same idea, the Murky is a solo queue player, pretty decent win rates. So again, we don't expect too much from it. My team keeps going in, even after one person keeps dying after one person. So again, you see I'm not using my ult, and I'm not dying with them. If we all went in together, we had a chance to fight over that camp. But because we all didn't go in together, I decided it wasn't worth it to go in at all. This is going to take me too long to do this camp by myself, but I also don't want to be in a position where I die, so I'm just playing rather safe, letting everything push in and not doing anything too crazy here. I go for one quick stack and then I just walk away because there's no point in me staying. I'd rather just stay safe and not die to something dumb. I know Diablo could charge me at any point, but he can't kill me by himself, so I go over here and I start getting some soak. The enemy team's 13, and I want to get our team to 13 in a reasonable time. I see that a lot of the enemies are bottom, so I'm not throwing my Sentinel because I know where they are. I save my Sentinel so that I can get vision on areas that I don't know. And so now I head up here to help out with this particular camp. When you're fighting a camp like this, if you're behind on experience, you don't need to kill it immediately, especially if it's in a lane that you guys already need to be at. But I see that Zarya's up here, and I see that the enemy team is all pushing bottom. So I end up watching bottom a little bit, and I go, okay, now's the time I should probably head down to bottom lane. I was trying to get us 13s as fast as possible. I do have my ultimate available, but you can see the health bars for everyone. Other than Murky, no one's low enough to worry about that. I see everyone on the enemy team moving upward. I reveal the healing camp to make sure that they're not doing it as they're rotating up, and now we're back in position. Tyrande is all about utility. What she lacks in healing, she should bring in CC and in vision. And so that's the big thing about Tyrande, is you need to be very calculated on when you use a Sentinel and when you use a Lunar Flare. If you use them really well, then she's very strong. So right here I see a bunch of people taking damage on the team, Zul, Jhin, Anubarak, and Murky, so I pop my ult, giving healing to all of them. And then I go to immediately help out right here. I'm just healing up the person that Sonya's trying to kill, saving my stun because my goal was to save it until my team did a stun, but she ended up running away, and I was like, that might be my only shot. The wall ended up stopping her from running further, so that my stun just completely missed. But that's pretty much it. Level 13 is where this build gets a little weird. All of this kind of makes sense. Level 13, I go with Harsh Moonlight. Yes, Quickening Blessings, since we're lowering the cooldown of Q, seems like a really good idea, and I would be okay if you said, hey, Paradox, I think this is just a better talent. The reason that I like Harsh Moonlight is we're against two different divers, Sonya and Genji. If one of them dives in alone, I can reduce their damage by 40% and their movement speed by 40%. The other reason why I like this talent a lot is because you can throw it out, hit someone, slowing them, and it's easier to land your stun if you don't have any other follow-up with your team. So I like both of these talents, but Harsh Moonlight just generally is a good talent to have, and you can lower the damage of people that are unstoppable. So if Diablo decides to breath and our team's all in the breath, I can send this out to reduce the damage of his breath by 40%. So there's a lot of uses for this talent, which is why I really like it, and it would take a lot for me to get away from taking this talent. As far as this talent, we're not going to get as much opportunity to auto attack, but I do like the idea of reducing the cooldown of Lunar Flare. And you reduce the cooldown of your Hunter's Mark as well, which is cool, but we're not going to get that many opportunities to just sit and auto-attack someone for a long period of time, so I generally would recommend these talents over that. But maybe in chaotic environments like Storm League, this may be a better talent than I make it out to be. So again, I'm just trying to get big stuns onto their backline. If my tank isn't already getting value off of that, I'm going to keep both of us topped off with our extra healing while taking these fights. The one thing that Tyrande does really well is if you do have a fight where the enemies are not fighting you, you can actually, or like charging on you particularly, you can actually heal for quite a decent amount. And the other thing that's really good is, unlike Whitemane or Malfurion, your healing on camps and bosses is huge. So if you're ever low health, and we actually didn't plan this at all, but if you're ever low health, and you go for a, and I was too slow on that. I think it's because she had Wrath of the Berserker going, which reduces her CC time. But yeah, if you're ever low health and there's a boss available, and you think you could get it if you were higher health, just go for it, because Tyrande can heal a lot when you're just fighting a boss that your team's not taking that much damage. You can easily full heal your whole team, so she's great if you're ever trying to make those aggressive plays. As you can see, I throw out my W to reduce his damage. I end up hitting her. I pop my ult to just keep my team topped off, but we lose another objective. Once again, the enemy team is all full health. Ours is very low health, and now they're getting a lot more kills than us. But I do want to point out, I'm slowly catching back up to Deckard's healing. My ults are getting very valuable. And I've got some pretty powerful later talent tiers. I will be able to remove stuns, silences, and slows. Now, this does not remove roots. So while I will be able to remove the sleep, there's no APOC here, but I can remove the slows applied from this. I could remove this. Overall, not too much. They did also change Darnasian Archery. I probably should have tried it out, but I was just getting a little worried because Sonya and Genji were diving on me a lot that I was like, I don't really want to worry about that. So I didn't end up going with that. And power is also pretty cool, 7% of max health, and it reduces the cooldown of your W. That was the meta talent, but I want to practice getting better at the cleanse, so I will be taking the cleanse talent at this tier. As you can see, I'm just doing my best to keep everyone topped off, not doing anything too crazy. I keep my cooldowns of my heals rather low. I heal myself once, and then I just wait. And then as Zul'jin was running by, I healed him again. I don't kill the catapult because I want to make sure that it's getting closer to my structures. That way, the enemies are missing all of this soak, and we're getting all of this soak. And then once I see the Zul'jin's covering that lane, I decide to go down to bottom lane. My goal is to get our team back into this game. We've been behind by 2 to 3 levels this entire time, and I just don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to stay in the game. I'm doing my best not to die, right? I only have 1 death, and I'm just doing my best not to die. We see them going for this camp. I probably should be retreat pinging. I don't see us winning this fight here. That's a Graviton. I don't know why. Again, healer main, playing another character, so I'm not too worried about it. I don't really want to do my heal here, but I have to save the Anubarak. The stealth also keeps me up for a little while, and now I'm in a pretty safe spot. If they try to dive me, I've got my damage reduction, I've got my self-healing that's really good. So now it's just the process of getting back in there. I could throw out my W to try to reduce the damage of Sonya, but it ends up getting Anubarak killed anyways. I really want to be able to heal up everyone, but this guy honestly just needs to back. He's way too low, so I didn't want to heal him. I'd rather heal the people that have to stay in the fight. So currently we're down by 8 kills. We're down by 2 full levels. We've lost every objective this game. It's looking pretty rough, guys. The one saving grace is that I do now have this to remove the sleep coming out from that. And I just showed you guys the combo that I recommend a lot. Use your W to slow them. Use your E to follow up with a kill. Anytime that someone's slowed, you can usually follow up and land a Lunar Flare. And that also did complete my quest a lot earlier than I normally complete the quest. So that's kind of cool. That means that we have 100% increased damage on our E. So our E does about 600 damage now, which is great. So now we've been able to get a couple picks that the enemies aren't expecting. We burned a couple of their items as well. There's not too much we can do at this moment, though. And the enemies should hit level 20 before us for this next objective. So we should still focus on getting as much soak as possible. I might heal up the Murky a little bit, or I might just save my mana. But we just want to do our best to stay alive. Now, as we're approaching level 20, and again, I do think Darnasian Archery is a little bit better now if you want to go for it. But, I mean, your auto attack damage, it would take 10 auto attacks to make your auto attacks kind of worth focusing on. And then after that, it's all just gravy. But, level 20, Eye of the Huntress is very powerful. And I think for the average Tyrande player, this is going to be the better ult. It reveals all the enemies. It heals 50% more, which it heals quite a bit. 770 healing to your entire team on a 90-second cooldown is really good. And stealthing your entire team, healing 50% more. I mean, you're essentially doing like mini ancestrals to everyone, although it is healing over time. That gives you an idea of how much healing potential there is. I prefer shooting stars. The increased range means that you can land more auto attacks to get more heals, and you can plan out your stuns to where you can do double stuns to people. So you can wait until you have 7 procs, and then you can stun someone and then auto attack and get a second stun off. Or you can get the auto attack stun off first and save your stun to follow up your own stun. So there are a lot of tools to do with shooting stars, which is why I like that talent so much. But mainly it's just a safer talent. So right here, I didn't have my heals available to remove the sleep, but in the future I will, and that's something that I need to practice. So I pop my ult, healing up the Zarya, as well as, I mean, this is pretty much just healing up everyone. I'm doing my best to get my Q off cooldown and be ready to follow up a stun onto that Tassadar. We're not able to get too much done with that, but that's a really good fight that we won while the enemies weren't level 20. However, we're closing in on level 20, so I'm telling my team to back off because I'm like, guys, this isn't going to work. We've got to back off. So I'm doing my best to try to heal up everyone. This guy's most likely just dead. I can throw one heal at him, but I want to actually keep most of the heals over here, and there's a good chance we're going to die. Enemies are 20. I'm like, give up the objective, because if the enemies go bottom, then we're still okay. But if we die here and then they push bottom and get the objective, then we're really screwed. So I'm back trying to get my my team up to 20. You see, a lot of this game, I'm just going right back to soaking for our team. As far as experience contributed, I mean, I'm a healer. I shouldn't have that much experience contributed, but if you compare me to the enemy Deckard, I brought an extra 4,000 experience contributed that my team hasn't. That their healer hasn't anyways. Now their team has been covering the experience in other methods as well, but if mine's not going to cover that, I'm going to have to cover that. So you can definitely see I have more experience contributed than two of the other people on our team, because I do, once I realize that the fight is lost, I want to go and I want to get my team caught up. There's no way we're going to win this fight down 20, especially against this team. Their level 20 talents are just too good. So we definitely need to hit level 20. And then we have some pretty decent level 20 talents. We get Rewind, we get a big AoE Silence. I don't need to worry about healing Zul'jin as much, because his ult will heal himself. And then I will get that stun, plus the safer range. So we definitely want to hit 20. So I'm here, focusing on trying to get us level 20. I end up going with Shooting Stars. I thought about it for a little bit. But I ended up going Shooting Stars. And it also synergizes much better if you do end up taking Darnasian Archery as well, which I do think would have been the better pick here. So I don't want to over chase here, but I do want to see if we can get a kill or two. So I just heal everyone. I fire off one stun, and then my auto attack should fire off another stun right here. It ends up not hitting anything that it can actually be stunned. And again, it keeps going for me with attacks. I keep healing myself, and we've done a really good job at getting them to get away, but I also don't want to lose too much. Sonya's pushing top right now, and I'm a little worried because we're using a lot of resources on the actual protector, and right as these guys get out of the protector, they're going to have all of their ults and abilities. So I'm telling my team, get back, get back, get back. You see all of these retreat pings being sent out, and now we're able to get out. And that would have been the point that I think we would have thrown if we didn't get back there. So again, if you guys aren't telling your team when to get back, you should start. Even if your team doesn't listen, the few games that your team does listen is the difference between you, like, losing a game or staying in the game longer. I'm not saying we're going to win this game, but it keeps us in the game longer and gives us a chance for the enemies to throw. So I go for an E this time, and now I'm up to my stun. My stun does land off of the Lunar Stars, so, I mean, that's always nice. And so I could throw my W to slow something, but I don't really want that fight either. I would rather save it until I've got Shadow Stock and we can take a fight that's going to be more valuable. I heal up the Zul'jin, and I do want to point out the healing right now. I'm closing in closer to the enemy Deckard. I'm getting a lot of healing now in these fights with my ult. We're getting very good ults, and we're finally at the same talent here. So this is the point where I might have a shot at catching up and healing, and I still bring a ton of value to these games with the vision that I bring and with the armor removal and all of that. And don't get me wrong, if they've got a good setup on their team, Deckard could go armor removal as well. He could just take that level 1 talent. So that's something that we can do. You can see that the E's that are going off are the lunar or the shooting stars, because I don't use my E too much for wave clear. I do it a little bit for wave clear in the early game when we need to like double soak, but not too much here. This is actually kind of strange. I mean, we have a very strong Murky at level 20 now that he has that big health bar and he's gaining back a huge portion of his health. So I'm like, he's not just suiciding. This guy's actually setting up a pretty decent fight for us, but I also don't want to be in a bad position. So I step back, and I just want to stay in a safe position. I see that they're trying to flank us from the side, and I just want to make sure that this Murky doesn't die alone. But I'm like, is this really the fight that we want? I'm not sure. So Murky's getting rather low here. I accidentally auto-attacked this, so I need to immediately get out of vision, and we can go back to fighting. We get an amazing Graviton, so I immediately follow up with a stun. I use my ult to heal everyone. That's enough to keep the majority of my team up while I'm focusing on other people. Tassadar ends up killing the Zarya. There's a Cocoon onto the Genji, so my job now is just to keep this guy up, as well as maybe see if I can't sneak a kill here. So I'm just going to still keep trying to keep everyone topped off. I go for one stun. I heal myself twice. I lower his damage, and then I continue auto-attacking him. I stun him with a Lunar Flare, with a Shooting Star, and he dies to my team. So you're actually a pretty decent healer if people try to charge into you. And this is another thing that I did. I healed right after he charged, and I do a double stun to lock him down for a considerable amount of time. Our team ends up getting a second kill that's essentially just a bait, because you can heal yourself a decent amount when people are charging in, and you have those double stuns. So that's 2 kills that we got purely off of me playing Tyrande and people underestimating what Tyrande can actually do if you try to dive in on her. She has a lot of self-healing, and she also has a lot of CC to stop someone from killing her. So you can get low, you can save two stacks of something, and then burst heal yourself and auto attack to gain back your stack. So it's pretty good. I don't see us doing too much in here, but we did end up getting a heal camp, so it's going to make it a little bit easier during healing. And again, after that last fight, if we were to look at the healing, I'm only 1,000 beneath the Deckard now. Our in-team fight healing is really good. Our in-between healing, I mean, he has bigger healing potions. He's got Ruby. If you want to take a peek at his build, he went the armor removal. So we both remove 15 armor whenever we can root someone. He has Ruby, and he has bigger healing potions for that extra value. He has Cube Mastery, so he could maybe get more roots out than I can. And his lasts longer anyways. His root lasts for 1.5 seconds, and mine lasts for 0.75 seconds. But it is also doing a lot of damage. Mine does 700 damage. Now, if his hits 2 people, it does 1,000 damage. If it hits 1 person, then it only does 300 damage. But yeah, so I would say these are 2 healers that could definitely be compared to each other. So if you like Deckard's CC, but you want someone that just plays a little different, then Tyrande is interesting. I think that to a single target, she can do a lot more damage. This is a really rough position for me to be in. This is just a complete mistake. So I wait until the fight goes a little bit, and I just walk my way over here. And I do my best to stay mounted so I don't get hit by too much. I heal myself twice, and then I pop my ult so that my team can stay healed. We also get the extra heal here. I stun her, and I remove the sleep from this one at the same time. So I interrupt the Deckard sleep, and I also remove the sleep from the person that had sleep on him. I'm doing my best to just try to keep him alive. I believe he ends up going down here. Oh no, he gets a big heal at the end of his ult. Murky's ult goes off, and guess what? We finally won our first objective. We did a lot that team fight, and guess what? As far as the stats, we are now out healing Deckard Cain. And it took a little bit. I mean, his amount of healing in the early game is definitely much higher than Tyrande's. But the amount of healing that you get after you get your ult is pretty good. I mean, if everyone's taking damage at the same time, your ult will heal for about 4,000 health, 5,000 health, 4 to 5,000 health, depending on what level you're at. That's a lot of healing that happens every single team fight. So if the enemy's focus is bad, then it's great. If the enemy focus is good, then you should be removing the CCs and healing one particular person pretty well. And it'll stealth them for a bit, which means that there's a good chance that they might not hit the right target if they're getting stealth. The stealth isn't perfect, but it does help out a little bit. I wouldn't recommend using this for the stealth itself. I would say focus using this on the heal. Unless you're in a very, very coordinated team and you can stealth everyone and have them run in and like jump on someone. But outside of that, I really wouldn't worry about it. There was one particular game, I did see that he was casting that, so I threw out the stun. If you went with the other version, it would have been a lot scarier, but that's fine. So in this case, I'm just making sure that I can heal off of that. I pop my ult, and we close out the game. This was a rather close game. As you can see, we had 4 catapults over here, as well as we had another catapult showing up over here. This was a very close game, guys. But this kind of answers the new Tyrande. Can she handle herself in chaotic environments? Yes. It's very difficult. I'm going to tell you that right up front, that she's not an easy healer to play. But I do like this build. I think this build is pretty good. It gets you your quest earlier, so you complete your quest earlier. You also are getting your a lot more healing in the earlier levels. I think level 13 could go with a couple different talents, and I think 16 you could go with a couple different talents. And then finally at level 20, either upgrade the ult or go shooting stars, in my honest opinion, because it's just so powerful. I mean, I was able to secure 2 kills that were trying to kill me by double stunning both of them, and so it's very valuable. So overall, guys, is this Tyrande something that's going to be meta changing? No. In competitive, I think it's pretty good in coordinated play, anyways. And in Storm League, I think it's okay. If you have a tank that has CC that lasts long enough for you to land yours, I would say that Tyrande is a pretty good pick. But if you're going against a lot of poke damage, your healing against poke damage is really bad. So I would say maybe not run this. There's definitely still times where you want to take a Loon's Chosen if you've got like one diver that's going to be too far, or you've got one tank that's going to be taking a lot of damage. Go with a Loon's Chosen. Otherwise, I think the buff of Everlasting Light and its synergy with Moonlit Arrows is pretty powerful. Celestial Attunement, I need a lot more practice with it. But yeah, this is Tyrande changes. I'm going to say she's pretty good, but not top tier. That's what I'm going to say from that. Maybe top tier in competitive just because of the amount of burst you can bring to one person. But her team fights are not bad with Shadow Stock. You can keep your team topped off in a lot of team fights. And it gives your mages time to like reposition while they're stealth. It's surprisingly good. This game was a wild game, though. But that's exactly what I wanted to see. How does she do in uncoordinated? How does she do in chaotic games? And she does a lot better now than she used to. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and feel free to check out my other videos.